Hey everyone, this is Jordan from Madtown Studios. Welcome back to Drawing the Facts. I just wanted to remind you folks that if you want to see more from DTF, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this video, because our greatest reward is your support. So for today's video, I wanted to focus on a topic that's more grounded and important in our society. It's a topic I wanted to delve into quite some time. Today, I'm going to share some facts about homelessness in America. Now, don't worry, this is not going to be a downer video, and this is not going to be one of those political videos, I promise. But I hope the info I give you will give you some insight into this case that's going on in our country. So, let's jump into the facts. This is Drawing the Facts, Broken Streets. How about we start with a little history of homelessness? Well, it actually dates back to the colonial America. In most towns, such as Baltimore, Philadelphia is more significant the number of homeless people than any other town in America during that time period. The problem actually resulted to King Philip's War in 1675 and 1676, which were against the native people. As the war continued between the French and Indians, the securities of some families were threatened, and they were forced to take refuge across the frontier areas such as New England and New York. During the American Revolution, the number of homelessness actually increased, and most growing cities were full of homeless people, but there was no intervene from the government. The term tramp was actually coined around the 1870s, which was a replacement for homelessness. But in the 1880s, it was then changed to the word hobo. Until the late 19th century, the problem of homelessness was in the hands of local and state authorities. Urban slums in many cities were plagued with overcrowding, poor hygiene, and bad sanitation, which led to outbreaks of infectious diseases. President Theodore Roosevelt did make an attempt to create a formal housing commission, that is until it halted during the stock market crash in 1929. And this of course led to the Great Depression in the 1930s, which then increased the number of people who ended up on the streets in America, and a greater need to address poverty and to improve the quality, affordability in housing was very low. This issue was happening under the rule of President Hoover, which is why most homeless areas were named Hoovertown. Years after World War II, the Federal Housing Administration, or also known as FHA, helped to finance for housing in suburban areas. However, though, this was also during a time of entrenched poverty and segregation in American cities, particularly for people of color. However, the Housing Act of 1956 were authorized to help those individuals and families who were displaced in the process of urban renewals, in an attempt to redevelop areas in the inner cities. In the 1970s, communities had plenty of affordable housing, but in the mid-1980s, rent was risen, and those with low income were being paid slowly. According to the National Law Center of Homelessness and Poverty, or NLCHP, lack of affordable housing is actually one of the biggest causes of homelessness. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop there for the 80s. Another major factor to increase individuals who are experiencing homelessness was the HIV and AIDS epidemic. The majority that fell into this group were mostly men, and most were African American and Latino. This also mostly affected those who were younger, less than 40 years old, more impoverished, and at higher risk of any medical problems, as well as low mental health and substance abuse. In the drawing, it had to take place mostly in the city. I probably would say the park. But I also wanted the man to be covered in this tent. A tent that's supposed to cover him, but is being torn and ripped up slowly but surely. It covers him since it's the only protection that he has. Now, I'm going to talk about the details as to what I'm really doing with the man in my drawing and how it's connected to the situation, and what's the current cause of homelessness today. One of the facts I mentioned before was that the lack of affordable housing is actually one of the causes of homelessness. 7.6 million stream income households today actually put half of their earnings into housing, putting them at risk into house instability and homelessness. Low income is also the cause from challenging labor markets, limited education, criminal records, unreliable transportation, unstable housing, as well as poor health and disabilities. As you can see, the man that I'm drawing right now is looking more zombified, if you can say. It looks as if his flesh is almost crippling and decaying away. Now, of course, if you look on the streets, you don't see any person who actually has these kind of conditions. But the rotting of the flesh actually represents of the deteriorating health, both physically and mentally, of those who are on the streets. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or also known as HUD, people who are sheltered and unsheltered are likely to have a disability. That includes diabetes, heart diseases, and as we talked about before, HIV and AIDS, which is found to be 6 times higher in the homeless population. And since 2000, opioid abuse has risen to a level of national crisis. For this man, I wanted to make him not just an ordinary person, so I made him into an ex-veteran. Which is why, if you can see closely, I added a dog tag with him, as well as a army hat laid down in front of him. The unfortunate thing about veterans is that, unlike the civilians, most have to navigate through life without the lack of affordable housing and, of course, economic hardships. To add more damage, this also includes the challenges from multiple and extended deployment. In fact, since January 2018, approximately 37,878 veterans have experienced homelessness. They make up approximately 9% of homeless adults, most without children, and only 2% are part of a family. 40.8% were men, 8.5% were women. Late Vietnam and post-Vietnam eras were at great risk of homelessness. While vets who returned from Afghanistan and Iraq had experienced traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorders, also known as PTSD. These 2 symptoms were something I wanted to include in my drawing, in which you can see the gaping wounds around the man's head and face and body. Other causes for homelessness also includes racial discrimination. African Americans, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, Natives, and Hispanics are the highest groups. African Americans make up 40% of this due to systematic oppressions, since segregation, poverty, rental housing, incarcerations, and decrease of mental health. According to the NLCP, 90% of women are victims of domestic violence and that escape their abusers, only to end up on the streets. In 2017, 55,000 beds were provided for survivors of domestic abuse. And reports from HUD have seen that over 138,000 homeless in the U.S. are from children under 18. The No Child Left Behind program also includes children who are sharing housing due to economic hardships. Homelessness can exist anywhere in any city in America. However, in 2018, New York has the highest with over 78,676. LA is second with over 49,955. California, New York, Florida, Texas, and Washington remain the highest states. New York City has the lowest level of unsheltered homelessness of 5%, while in Los Angeles, 75% of people are found in unsheltered locations. In this illustration, it looks pretty dire, but I want to add something really hopeful to it. To clash against the upper red, below added some green to it. Since red represents destruction and death, the green represents earth and therefore life. As you can see, I add some vines just wrap around the man and healing him and restoring him. I won't get more into this, but now I'm going to talk about the solutions as to how we can soon end homelessness. Luckily, in today's times, there are different solutions to help decrease homelessness. Here are those solutions. First one is creating systems that work. A community-wide approach to delivering services and housing and programs is needed. Second one would be rapid rehousing, or also called RRH. RRH can help connect people to housing and services. There will be permanent support housing, a proven solution to homelessness for most vulnerable, chronically homeless people. It pairs housing with the case management and supportive services. Fourth would be crisis response system. It identifies those experiencing homelessness, prevent homelessness when possible, connect people with housing quickly, and provide services when needed. And fifth would be income opportunity and services. Programs designed to assist low-income people increase their income are critical to supporting housing stability. Another element I forgot to mention that I added into my illustration was that the gentleman right here is playing the guitar. The music in this illustration helps to symbolize healing, internally and even physically. In fact, hospitals use music therapy to help ease patients' pain, lower blood pressure, reduce anxiety, and depression. A music teacher by the name of George Moran, who was 39 years old, went through cardiac valve repair at the Morristown Memorial Hospital in Long Valley, New Jersey. This procedure required his heart to stop for 90 minutes when he was being connected to a heart-lung machine. But in the recovery room, he heard a woman playing the harp, which actually helped regulate his heart rate. The music calmed Moran, even when the tube that was connected to him made it difficult for him to breathe. The music helped him feel relaxed and rested. Music truly is proven that it can touch the soul in deep and subtle ways. In programs including Musicians Against Homelessness and LA's Street Symphony, use the power of music to bring awareness to homelessness as well as helping those who are on the streets. And finally, one of the main things that actually made me want to go this route in terms of the guitar and the vines wrapping around the men right here was from a quote from Edvard Munch, which states, "From my rotting body, flowers shall grow, and I am them, and that is eternity." This quote right here is what made me want to have this man connected with the music and with the earth, healing him in, as I said before, an external and internal way. Most can see this as him dying and being one with the earth. But for me, I see this as more as a revival and becoming one again. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, Broken Streets. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it's not as entertaining and energetic and lively as my other ones, but I hope you did learn something from this and can spread the knowledge to those you know, and possibly help those who can't really help themselves. And if you want to know more about this topic, check out the links below. And if you already knew all these things before, but still enjoyed the video, well, thank you. I'll see you next time. Peace. Hey everyone, this is Jordan from Madtown Studios. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be putting up new content each month. Down below in the comments, if you have any questions for me, or if you have any recommendations of what I should draw, please let me know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more updates from Madtown Studios, tap that subscribe button down below. Well, see you next time. Peace.